start recording. So this is now recording the session. So what I want to do on the front page here, you'll just see that we've got our website. This is going to change very shortly. So there's going to be a New Zealand, Australia specific website as well that will be available. But this is just a little bit of information about what we do as a company as well. So we actually do complete health and safety software outside of what we do with you guys with your pre-qualification. So the life of a contractor. A contractor would normally go to or be directed to one of your websites. So I've just used the Hamilton City Council website here as an example, but on all of your websites you should have a very similar looking feel for the contractors. We actually provided a lot of information here at the beginning that each of the councils came on, so the format should be very, very similar. If a contractor comes onto here, they can click on these hyperlinks to actually take them into the area to start the process. Gives them some information about the process. It also gives them some frequently asked questions. And again, this has got a hyperlink to actually start the process. It also talks about the costing, the prices. So we don't charge the councils anything to do this process. The cost is for the contractors. So if the contractor has 1 to 4 staff, they're charged $180 plus GST for the 2-year registration. If they have between 5 and 24 staff, then they're charged $400 plus GST. Or if they've got 25 or more staff, then they're charged $900 plus GST. Over and above that, they also have, depending upon the types of insurances that they need for the contract work that they're doing for your council, they also will be charged $25 plus GST for the insurances upon renewal. So when they register, for example, if this company here had 4 staff, they would be charged $180. They might have public liability insurance, so that would be another $25, so that would be $205 plus GST that they would be charged when they first registered. Then as their insurance expired within 9 months or 12 months or whatever, they'd be charged another $25, which is an administration fee, to actually redo all their details within the system. The actual registration fee is for 2 years. The insurance is as the insurances expire. Now, if the insurance expires within 3 months of the company doing their registration, then we waive the fee. We do not charge them extra fee on top of that. So with the contractor, they've got all the information here. They can also access a database, which is a portal, which I'll show you further on down the time, which actually takes them through and shows them the contractors that are already on the system that are approved. So if the contractor was to start the process, they go and they click onto here, takes them to this web page. They click as a new contractor. It'll talk them through the actual process that they will go through. They will set up their some details in here. So it might be an email address. They'll confirm their email address. They'll put their details for a street physical address. When they tick terms and conditions, it'll actually bring up all the terms and conditions on here. They'll agree to that. Once they hit register, there's a couple of things happen. So they'll actually get an email that will actually have on it a copy of the terms and conditions. It'll have a hyperlink to the next part in the process. Now what that does is that validates the email address that they've put into the process. So the email address here will be the email address that next email is sent to. So if for some reason a contractor has contacted you and said, I registered, but I never received anything in return, either they may have put the wrong email address in here, or they may have, that email may have gone to may be held up by a firewall or something like that, depending upon the size of the organisation. If they were to contact us, we also get a copy of that email, so we can then forward that directly out to them again, or to a different email address if they need to. So any questions you guys have from contractors and that, don't be shy in actually directing them back to our team here at the office, and they will be able to help them through that. So once they click on that, they will, as I say, get an email. It will take them through, give them a hyperlink that will take them through to the next start and the next stage in the process, which will be this website here. This will already have their name. It'll already be populated with their email address. And then what they do is they select the number of employees. They'll select what insurances they need to use for the contract work that they do with your council, and then they click continue. Now this takes them into a page that gives them the ability to do three things, one of which is they can pay now. Now that would mean if they've got a debit card, credit card or a PayPal, they can go through that and they can actually pay by debit card, credit card or PayPal. Or if they don't have that, they can actually click on here. What that does is actually take them through and they can request an invoice. Now when they click on that and request an invoice, an email comes through here to the admin team, obviously with all the details of what they need to know about the invoice. But at the same time, the company the contractor that's actually doing this also receives an email with the questionnaire in it already. So even before they process the invoice, they've already got the questionnaire there. If they have gone through and actually selected pay by credit card, debit card, which I've just clicked on here, they will actually also, once that has been processed, they will immediately get a question set emailed to them. So again, if a contractor contacts you and says, I've gone through the process, I've paid, but I never received an email, just direct them back to our admin team, because again, it could have been held up in firewall or security type thing, and our guys will just send them out the email, because again, we get a copy of that as well. Now, once I've done that, once I've received the questionnaire, it will look very similar to this. It's a very intuitive spreadsheet. Now, over the next couple of months, we will be changing this, and it will be it will be taking it away from being a spreadsheet, and it will be a website audit schedule, which we're currently working on at the moment. But this is a very intuitive spreadsheet. If you've got a contractor that doesn't have Excel or isn't very familiar with using Excel, we do have other options that those contractors can use. And again, if you just direct them back through our administration team, they'll actually be able to help them with that. So it's a very easy system to try and utilize. They can put in details as they do specific things. It will actually liven up the next question and take them through to the different processes. There is a sample set of questions if a contractor does want to know the types of things that are actually in here as questions. As they go through, they will, depending upon what questions they answer, as to where it'll take them through next. They shouldn't go through tab by tab, because the question, they won't have to answer all of the questions that are in here. It's very intuitive, depending upon what they select as to where it will take them next. So all they should do is hit the next button each time they come through. When they get through to the final few pages, one of them is around the high-risk tasks, and if they select one of the high-risk tasks, then they have to select suitable documentation that would actually work with that specific high-risk task. There's also questions about how they would communicate with the councils and with WorkSafe on hazardous work, or if there's been a notifiable event, etc. There's also going through here, there's declaration that they all have to sign or agree to, just to say that they've done everything that's appropriate and given the true and correct answers, that all the staff are appropriately trained, qualified and competent, etc. Once they've gone through to the final page on here, when they click next, they should be saving the spreadsheet as they're going through, and it always tells them to save the file now. When they hit next, it then brings up the next website, which gives them the ability to put all their details directly into the system, gives them the ability to select what their primary council is, contract details. They can also select what their scope of services are. Now, these scope of services have been selected by the governance board. If there was any changes to this scope of services, then they would need to be run through the governance board as well. In this trading as, people can be very intuitive in here, and they can actually do some promotional type stuff if they wanted to as well, and actually put, for example, it might be a fencing contractor, so in here they might want to put residential fencing, commercial fencing, farm fencing. They could put all sorts of different things, number of employees, and then this is where they attach all of their evidence files, questionnaire, all that should be attached through here, and they upload it directly into the system. Now, once a contractor has done that, they'll get an email back to say thank you very much, and gives them the opportunity to go through and do feedback if they wanted to. So from our side, we would get that would come into our system. Our staff would actually work through that approval process. They'd actually make sure that the evidence met what the questions were filled out and were appropriate. If there wasn't, they'd communicate back with the contractor, and they'd work that through to a point where the contractor would generally be approved. So the system doesn't allow for the contractor to come onto the visible until such time as they are approved. Some of those approvals might take longer than others, depending upon the material, the data or the evidence that the contractors have. Some of the contractors do work with consultants to help them through that process. Other contractors do it themselves. Now, from your side, you also have the ability to actually go into what we call portals. So you have a URL link to this portal, and this particular one was the one that was actually on the Hamilton City Council website as well, that I said I'd talk to you later on about. So this is where that would have landed you. This goes into, gives you your frequently asked questions. It gives you a list of participating councils. It also gives you some very quick reports in here. Approved contractors A to Z. It also gives you approved contractors. So that one's by council. This one's just an A to Z. It gives you the scope of services. So if you were looking for specific services, you can search on those services. It's got some councils that have requested some specific database reports in here as well. So this is, you don't need to have a sign-in or anything for it, so any of your staff, project managers, anyone could actually access this at any time. The other portal that I do send out the link to, I do it on a monthly basis, and it goes out to everyone that's got a sign-in to the system, is this report portal. Now this gives you the recording of the likes of this webinar. So I always put the last webinar that I've done up here. It'll be accessible for you. It gives a monthly report which gives you some graphs on what councils are, how many contractors are from each council, how many contractors we've had register in the month. Just some data that might be useful for you to complete some monthly reports and that sort of thing. It also gives you some filtered reports, so pre-qualified but have expired within the system, pre-qualified and due to expire within the next 2 months, insurances that have expired, and insurances due to expire within the next 2 months. It also gives you the A to Z of contractors list. Now, once the insurances have expired or their pre-qualification has expired, the system automatically takes them out of the visible information that you can see as an approved contractor. Now, the next side of the system will actually take you into the login side of it. Now, if you do not have a login and you do want a login to it, please send an email to nzsupport@shesoftware.com. So that's nzsupport@shesoftware.com and ask for a login. From that, we will need to know what login name you would like. Normally it is your first name with a dot and then your last name, and then your email address. And what we would do would be we'll set the email, password as a generic password, and when you go to log into it, you will be asked to update that password to whatever you would like and whatever you can remember. So we would also send you the URL to the login as well. So from here, we would log in. It's as easy as actually going onto the front page, and we've got a hyperlink here which just takes you to the contractor database. And it will give you a list view. Now in here, because of my administration rights, I've actually done, I get to view everyone. So I'm actually going to just shoot out of this and actually come in as if you were here. So this login here gives me the same view as if it was you guys. So it'll only give the approved. One of the things you'll see straight away is that we've got green down the side and we've got some orange here. Now what that orange means is that we have got something that's due to expire within 60 days on this contract. And now we can already see that the expiry is not to do with, so that's due to expire in 2020. So this was done on this approval was done on the 26th of the 1st, 2018. So what it'll actually be an insurance policy that's due to expire. To see the details of that particular contractor, we go into here, into the cogwheel, we go details, and then down the bottom of here, we can see the different documents that are listed in here. We can also see the insurance details. So we can see that next month, these insurances are due to expire. Now, as I said earlier, with this contractor, we would not be charging them extra to update these details because it's happened within 3 months of the approval. So all we would be doing is asking that contractor to email through their updated policies. To to work around within the system, you can see this grey string up here. If you need to go back one step, you can actually just click on the step back and it'll take you back one step. In this particular contractor, you can see that there's 171 files loaded against that contractor, and here you can see 28, 16, 15, etc. So as I say, to go in and have a look at these details, you go into the cogwheel, go into details, and it's got all the information there for you. If you were looking for a specific contractor, at the moment we're making some changes to the system because of your permissions, you cannot just click on the quick search and go in through that. If you do, you will get this here, and you can actually search on the contractor, but what happens is you can't actually go in and look at the documentation. It'll come up an error. So what we're actually doing at this stage here, we're actually going to put another button out to the side, which will actually give you access into that information. So what I'm just going to do is take you back and actually show you how you can access the details from within a specific contractor. So we're just going back one step. And so if we go into filters, if we go into manage filter, you'll see that there's a filter in here that says by contractor name for council use. And if we go in and edit that, and you can see that the last person that was in here was looking for that particular company there. So we can go in and we can edit that, and we can put in hazard update and then save and apply. And that has brought up hazard. We can also see there's a little green funnel here. That means that that's got filter on it. And from here we can actually go in, we can just do the details, and you can go into that profile. Now this hazard is actually a system that we have, a company that we have in here that we use as a test. So we have things that expire on hazard all the time. And so we use that for testing our system to make sure that all our triggers and notifications and everything else is working appropriately. But if you want to remove the filter from that, it's as easy as just clicking on the green filter, and it'll take you back to the original view. Now, there's some other things you can do in here if you wanted to. If you wanted to actually sort by contractor name, you can just click on that and it'll take you through. So this has gone from Z to A. So if we want to go the other way around, it's just a matter of clicking on those little arrows there, and you can go A to Z. And of course it'll do the numbers first and then go into the A to Z. Now there's a couple of things in here. So the contractors will get notification at 60 days, 30 days, 7 days, 2 days prior to an insurance expiry or the expiry of the system of their pre-approval. They'll get that through an email. That email will have a hyperlink on it that will actually take them through to enable them to actually start the process. Again, if for some reason they're not, if they're stalled in the process, we actually pick that up. We send an email, a personalised email out to them and say, we notice that you are stalled in the system. Is there anything we can do to help, etc., etc. Upon expiry is where everyone within that has a login to our system that wants to be notified can actually be notified of a contractor that has expired within the system. And upon expiry, the contractor gets the email, the councils get the email, and they drop out of the approved profile list. So what I'll do, I'll just open it, all the microphones up again, and I'm sure there's a few questions. So we'll go through those questions, and just opening up all of the microphones now. No. Okay. Okay. So I'm just opening up. So that should give everyone the ability to So has that been helpful for everyone?
Yep, very helpful. Thanks.
Okay, so is there any questions that's come out of that?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, Ross Brundon here. Just one that I've got a question on, and that is the ability to run reports by trade. For example, if you're searching for a specific trade in the list of approved contractors by, for example, Hamilton City Council, is there a way to do that?
Yeah, so within, you can go into the scope of services, and you can select the trade just by going Control F. The other thing that you can do with any of these reports, you can actually Control A, which selects all, Control C, which copies all, and then you can actually drop it directly into a spreadsheet as well. So if you're wanting to actually do some specific filtering, you can actually do it by scope of services. You can do it by the town, the name, and so with this, we've also given some email addresses and phone numbers. So if there's a particular contractor that you're trying to find, at least you've got some contact details directly there that you can contact that contractor with. So if on this report you wanted me to put the council as well, I can actually do that. So just put a request into New Zealand support at shesoftware.com, and we can put that council in there as well. Has that answered your question?
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
Yes, there is. Hi, this is Pavati with Hamilton City Council. One of the comments I do have quite often from our contractors is that they would like to be able to get a feel for what information they need to have ready before making the application, because their biggest, I suppose, gripe is that they have to go through the process and then sometimes they don't actually have all the information ready. So is there any opportunity that we could have some sort of summary of the kind of documentation they should have ready before making the application?
The problem is that depending upon the size of the company as to what they actually need to have and the types of stuff that they're doing for the company. So for example, if you take a company like maybe HWR Richardson Group, if they were registering in here, they're under what we know as Partnership Program or AEP. So if they had that, then they would actually just need to supply a copy of the current Partnership Program certificate, and then there's the questionnaire about their high-risk tasks, their reporting to work safety to council and that sort of thing. So there'd actually be very little that they would actually have to submit. But if you're talking about a company that didn't have a pre certification for something similar to AEP, then, and maybe they're doing asbestos, then they would actually need to have quite a lot of documentation around what they're doing with asbestos, how they're managing it, and to what level and that sort of thing. So the basis behind all the questions and everything was based on the 4801 with the addition of PCBU, communication, WorkSafe, council communication, all of that communication, health checks, all that sort of thing. So if you were to sort of guide them along the lines of, if they looked at, the old WSMP type questions, that was the basis behind the questions. We do have an example question set, which has got example watermarked across all of the questions. When we started to release that at the beginning, we actually found that people used to write, actually print it out and write across it and write all the answers and then mail it to us. So we were sending it out as an example, and they were actually physically writing on it and then sending that back in. So it sort of got a little bit difficult at that stage. But the types of documents that we're looking for are just your standard type, your policy, and one of the main things that we find when the girls are going through doing the approvals is people that do have a health and safety policy often don't have it signed and don't have it dated. They just have it printed out from a manual or something, and they don't, it's down the bottom, they have the signature strip and the date signed, but there's nothing actually filled out on it. And often our girls are just going back and saying, can you please sign and date this policy? It's stuff like that they do pick up, but just because the contractor doesn't actually know what they need to have at the beginning, shouldn't hold them up. So because it's on a spreadsheet, they can actually go in and out of it as many times as they want. All they do is save it onto their computer, and they can work through it in their own time. And then when it comes through to the girls, we don't have a limit of how many times the girls will go back and forth to the contractors to make sure that they're actually got the appropriate documentation for it. Does that help? It's probably gone around it in a little bit of a circle, but does that help a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, as I said, a lot of the time, especially in what I'm doing, a lot of the contractors, we're dealing with the small to the medium, not the large ones, because, I mean, like you say, the large ones, that they're actually got already these systems in place and it's relatively straightforward. It's the smaller guys who aren't used to having to go through this kind of process that even if we're able to sort of give them a heads up of the kind of documentation they need to have ready. I mean, I understand what you're saying about, the fact that is, they can save it and etc. But I suppose even at a high level, like some of the stuff that you mentioned, it'd be quite handy to be able to say, okay, well, at a minimum, you're going to need these kind of documents. I think that would definitely help with getting that process streamlined a bit as well.
What I'll do, I'll just hand it over to Michelle just to add some value into here as well, because she's dealing with this all the time.
So I understand what you're saying, especially with the sole traders. So basically, what my team does is we look for the processes and systems that particular contractor has in place for the type of work they do. So we're looking for to identify hazards, if they use something like a diary or something similar, we're looking for evidence of that. So we don't accept any templates. We have to see that they are working documents and it's something they're doing when they go on site. So examples of that is like a JSA, or they might call it something else. And that's the problem with trying to get a list out to everybody on what we actually require, because a lot of contractors don't understand probably the bigger forms. So another thing is you can direct them back to us at New Zealand Support, and we've got sort of a template that goes out which gives them a guideline of the sort of things we're looking for, and we talk about, you know, the systems and processes they have in place. And if we sort of stick and keep it easy, then they don't overthink it. The problem is when you have a list of things, they then take that's exactly what they have to get, and it can get very confusing. So best thing is to direct them back to us rather than us trying to put some sort of template out there in the system that isn't relevant to everybody. And we try to do it each contractor based by, you know, depending on what the type of work they do and what our expectation is of what we would like to see. Does that make it a little bit clearer?
Yeah, thank you for that.
Cool.
Is there any other questions that we've got?
I actually have another question, if that's okay. So another thing, I know that when the system was rolled out, pretty much it was a bulk upload of all the council's contact details for various contractors. Is there going to be any kind of process of verification of in particular, the emails? Because I know, like, an example is I had one consultant that we have on our consultancy panel, and their email address, they didn't realise it was actually for a staff member that had left quite some time ago. And so they weren't even getting the notifications that they'd dropped off the system. So, I mean, obviously it's going to be addressed as the contractors go through that registration process and provide up-to-date information, but there seems to be a lot of hit and miss with the stuff that was just uploaded from the various councils.
Yeah, well, it's very hard for us to validate the emails that were given to us. Like even to do with the with the contractors that are putting email addresses in, we actually have contractors that put a email address in, and then they start using a different email address. And when we actually do go back and have a look at what they originally used, we say to them, oh, this is what we've got on our system. Oh, we don't use that one anymore. So, yeah, I really don't know the way around fixing that other than when we do the mail outs, because we do some email mergers. If that email address isn't used anymore, we do get a trigger back to say that this email is no longer valid. And we try and research to find another email address that would replace that.
Okay.
So I guess the easiest is you know, on this system, the report that I've got up has actually got the email address for the company. So this is available for contractors as well. If you actually have contractors that are saying, you know, we don't know what our email address is, they could actually look at this report and it'll tell them what we've got in the system. Or contact us.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. I think it's also something we may have to have. It's an internal discussion within council because there's also a bit of a misalignment with some of our other systems, like our finance system. So I think if we could get some alignment there, that probably help with especially the contact details.
Yep. Now the other thing is to do with that. You're absolutely right. So there were 6 councils that came together to do this project originally, and some of the councils were able to upload their contractors that they'd already pre-approved under the pre-qualification. Now that was set up in September 2016. So a lot of those contractors that were uploaded at that time have actually already come through the system as renewals or gone through the system as being that that they've no longer being used by the contractor, by the councils, etc. So out of the, I think it was nearly 600 that were uploaded, I think we're down to, there's just over 100 that are left in the system that were uploaded at the original. So they're actually being phased out, you know, on a day-by-day basis, because they're actually expiring from the when they were last pre-qualified by the council. So it's getting less and less all the time. And as we go through this year, it'll become non-issue, that side of it.
Okay.
The other thing is that I'd like to bring up is we don't seem to be getting the registrations that were actually anticipated, even from the original 6 councils. So one of the things I would like to just promote here is just to make sure that you know, if there's anything we can do to help you as well to promote out to the contractors, please let us know. We've got a whole lot of documentation, or you know, we could do a specific webinar for contractors, or whatever if we need to. If there's things that we can do to help you promote out to your contractors, please let us know. And we do need to, you know, just, we're doing this as a no cost for the councils to try and, you know, bring the whole system together. We've got 19 organisations using it. It's really, really valuable to the companies like Fulton Hogan or Opus or anything that just need to go through one process and can be pre-qualified for the 19 organisations. So yeah, just sort of doing a little bit of a promotion there, just making sure that people are using the system. So yeah, if there's no more questions, I'll just stop the recording there, and I would like to thank everyone for their time. And yeah, if you do have any questions, or you do want to have a login and you don't have one now, please remember, just send an email through to New Zealand support at shesoftware.com, and the girls will help you out. Okay? So thank you very much for your time.
Are you still there?
Yes, yes.